Hello. Everybody knows that creating wealth is a long game. You have to work hard for years on end, make lots of sacrifices in your personal life, and also have a bit of luck in your enterprises. However, when you got your family on your side, things get much easier. You are watching the top 10 richest families of all time, and in this video, I'm going to show you the top 10 richest families of all time, how they made their fortunes, and also how much they are worth. But before we begin, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. We here at Top 10 Luxury Edition are always uploading videos for you to take a sneak peek into the world of luxury. And if you like this type of content, also hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. And without further ado, here are the top 10 richest families of all time. Number 10, the Koch Family. And the 10th richest family of all time is the Koch Family. The Koch family made the bulk of its fortune in the manufacturing and refining industries, and they own most of today's Koch Industries. And its patriarch was none other than Fred Koch, a brilliant MIT graduate who developed a breakthrough method for oil refinement back in 1927. Well, as you can expect, this proved to be a lucrative undertaking. But it wasn't until the death of Fred Koch that Koch Industries became a multi-billion-dollar business. Right after his death, his son Charles Koch became the CEO of the company. Charles had big and bold plans to expand the company into a myriad of industries, such as the construction and commodities industry. And as history has shown us, Charles has managed to execute his vision. Because nowadays, Koch Industries is well established in dozens of industries, operate in more than 60 countries, employ more than 100,000 people, and made close to $115 billion in revenue last year. And the Koch family is collectively worth more than $100 billion according to Forbes, making them by far one of the richest families in the whole world. Number 9, the Mars Family. And the next rich family on our list is the Mars Family. The Mars family owns most of Mars Inc., the biggest player in the confectionery industry. And the patriarch of the family is Franklin Mars, a hardworking man who first started out selling candy when he was only 19 years old. Franklin had lots of ups and downs in his career as an entrepreneur. He opened up multiple candy factories and, unfortunately, most of them were spectacular failures. But he was a very persistent guy, and a failure wasn't an option for him. However, success didn't come to him until his son, Forrest Mars, joined the company. Forrest was an innovator at heart, and together they came up with candy ideas that were instant home runs, such as the Snickers bar and M&Ms, which were exceptional profit centers for the company at the time and had put them on the radar. Fast forward to today, Mars Inc. is still alive and well, with more than $40 billion in yearly sales, 130,000 employees, and dozens of brands under its umbrella. All in all, the Mars family has a collective net worth of $126 billion divided between 6 heirs, and that goes to show you the power of persistence. If Franklin Mars had given up on his first failure, he would never have created this massive empire for him and his family. Number 8, the Arneau Family. The next rich family on our list is the Arneau Family. This family has made most of its fortune in the luxury goods industry, and their patriarch is none other than Bernard Arnault, the 4th richest man in the world today. Bernard has always been passionate about business and entrepreneurship, so much so that he asked his father, an already successful businessman, to become his mentor. Luckily for him, his father took him under his wing and taught him all the nuts and bolts of entrepreneurship. But he didn't become wealthy until he decided to be his own boss and buy the luxury brand Christian Dior. At the time, the Dior brand was barely walking on its legs and had filed for bankruptcy several times. However, Bernard managed to revitalize and expand the Christian Dior brand to the point where they were profitable again. But he wasn't satisfied, and so he started acquiring more and more luxury brands and turning them into profit centers. Long story short, his strategy of buying other brands continues to this day, and nowadays he has more than 70 brands under his umbrella, including Hublot, Tiffany & Company, Tag Heuer, and even Louis Vuitton. And according to him, the backbone of his success is his family. After all, 4 out of 5 of his children work with him on a day-to-day basis, and the family is collectively worth more than $142 billion. Number 7, the Ford Family. And the next rich family on our list is the Ford family. Well, the Ford family barely needs an introduction. They made the bulk of their fortune through the iconic Ford Motor Company back in 1903, and its patriarch was none other than Henry Ford, a brilliant and hardworking man who was at the forefront of the American automobile revolution. At the time, the automobile was a foreign concept to most people, and almost everybody thought it was an idea doomed for failure. But Henry Ford wasn't afraid to take risks, and he would always trust his intuition more than the trash talkers. So he decided to open up the first auto assembly line in the world, and as history has shown us, it was a massive success, allowing him to conquer the whole US auto industry and become one of the richest men of his time. At his peak, he and his family were estimated to be worth close to $200 billion adjusted for today's values. Unfortunately, most of that wealth is long gone, and that's because the Ford Company, along with the auto industry as a whole, has reinvented itself many times over the decades. And so, the Ford family decided to cash out most of their fortune from the company. Today, they own a mere 2% of Ford's outstanding shares, which are estimated to be worth little more than $2 billion. Number 6. The Waltons. And the sixth richest family of all time is the Walton Family. Well, the Walton family made their fortune in the retail industry through the world-famous Walmart company, and they owe most of their success to Sam Walton, founder of Walmart back in 1962. Life was never easy for Sam Walton. He comes from a typical middle-class family that struggled to pay the bills every month, and when he decided to open up Walmart, he had to put into the venture all of his life savings plus a $20,000 loan. But turns out he made the right call, because today it is the world's largest company by revenue in the Fortune's list, employs more than 2 million people, and has a market capitalization of more than $370 billion. Unfortunately, Sam Walton has already passed away, so the fruits of his labor are mostly in the hands of his heirs, which are collectively worth more than $247 billion. And while a few of his heirs still work in the higher ranks of Walmart, most others have gone on to do other things in life. Number 5. Vanderbilt Family. The 5th richest family of all time is the Vanderbilt Family. This family made its fortune in the transportation industry way back in the 19th century, and the man responsible for this feat was Cornelius Vanderbilt. Well, Cornelius was a brilliant and energetic man. At only 11 years of age, he decided to quit school and work for his father to learn the ins and outs of entrepreneurship. And just a few years later, sensing a big opportunity in the booming transportation industry, he started his own ferry boat company. He started it with only one boat, but soon his entrepreneurship skills and hard work allowed him to grow it into one of the biggest ferry boat companies in New York. But it wasn't until he got into the railroad industry that he became a business mogul, which, fortunately for him, was booming just as America was expanding to the West. And long story short, he quickly became the richest man in America at the time and owner of a railroad empire that helped shape the borders of America. At his prime, he and his family were worth more than $250 billion adjusted for inflation. But as wealth started to trickle down to his heirs, money started to be treated recklessly. Lots of overspending, gambling, keeping up with the Joneses, and bad investment decisions. And the end result is all of that wealth is long gone. Number 4. Fugger Family. The 4th richest family of all time is the Fugger family. The Fugger family is a German family from the 16th century, which made most of its fortune in the banking industry, and its patriarch is Jakob Fugger, a man who had a deep passion for business and entrepreneurship, and also had a unique ability to spot opportunities in the market. To be honest, the Fugger family was already well off financially, but it wasn't until Jakob Fugger started lending money at a steep interest rate to affluent political leaders that they achieved ultra-wealthy status. For instance, he loaned money to the Holy Roman Emperor, to the King of Spain, and even to the Pope himself. And as you can expect, this sent the Fugger's family fortune to new highs. At its peak, the family was estimated to be worth more than $300 billion adjusted for inflation. Unfortunately, the Fugger's family fortune started to slowly vanish because most of his heirs didn't want anything to do with the money their predecessors had conquered. Many of them preferred to seek philanthropic causes or become professors. As a result, it didn't take long for their fortune to fade away. Number 3. The Carnegie Family. And the next rich family on our list is the Carnegie Family. The Carnegie family made its fortune in the steel industry back in the 19th century, and they owe most of it to Andrew Carnegie, a visionary entrepreneur and a philanthropist at heart. Andrew was born in Scotland to a very poor family, which then came to the United States while he was still young to pursue the American dream. Young Andrew has always been quick to spot new trends and opportunities in the market, and the moment he saw that the US steel industry was about to soar, he knew he had to do something about it. So he decided to go all in on it and create his own company, the Carnegie Steel Company. And as they say, the rest is history. The steel company was a massive success, and at its prime, it was responsible for most of the US steel production, making Andrew Carnegie the richest man in the country. For instance, he and his family were worth more than $310 billion adjusted for inflation. Unfortunately, the wealth of the Carnegie family was short-lived. As I said, Andrew was a philanthropist at heart, and that is probably the reason why he decided to donate more than 90% of the family's wealth to philanthropic causes, thus leaving very little money for his heirs when he passed away. Number 2. The Rothschild Family. And the second richest family of all time is the Rothschild Family. The Rothschilds made the bulk of their fortune in the banking industry way back in the 18th century. And the patriarch of the family is Mayer Amschel Rothschild. Well, Mayer lost his parents at a very young age in a tragic turn of events, and because of that, he got a job at a banking house to be able to fend for himself. Luckily for him, it was there that he learned the ins and outs of the banking business, which would prove to be very handy later on in his career. However, it wasn't until the Napoleonic Wars started in 1803 that Mayer became super rich. At the time, he started loaning money at a steep interest rate to most of the warmongering princes in Europe, thus making a vast fortune while most of Europe was crumbling. And as you can expect, this proved to be a very lucrative venture for the Rothschild family. For instance, at the heydays of the family, they were estimated to be worth more than $350 billion in today's numbers. Nowadays, the Rothschilds are still involved in the banking industry, but they don't hold near as much power and influence as they once had. Number 1. The Rockefellers. And the richest family of all time is the Rockefeller Family. The Rockefellers made their fortune way back in the 19th century during the US oil boom, and the man who made the bulk of the family's fortune is John D. Rockefeller. Just so you know, John was born into a very poor family that was always struggling to make ends meet, but with hard work and grit, he managed to turn his life around. Back in 1870, John foresaw that the oil industry was going to be the major driver of the US economy, and so he decided to dive headfirst into the industry and create a small oil refinery. John's new oil refinery became an overnight success, and so he got hooked on the oil business and decided to reinvest most of his profits into buying more and more refineries. This proved to be a winning strategy, and at one point, he controlled more than 90% of the oil production in the US, employed more than 100,000 people, and was considered to be America's richest man. In fact, it is estimated that he was valued at a whopping $418 billion at the height of his day. Today, the Rockefeller family is worth only a fraction of what it once was. After all, wealth started to trickle down to his heirs, and none of them had his unparalleled entrepreneurship skills. Alright, you've just watched the top 10 richest families of all time. As you can see, all of the families on our list had someone that has made so much money that the life of his heirs became much easier. Well, I can only imagine how lucky their heirs must have been to be born into wealth. And now I want to hear from you. What common traits did you notice among the men who amassed great fortunes and created generational wealth? Let me know in the comment section down below. And that's all for today's video. Thanks for watching, and until next time.